Hello and welcome to Fast Break Bets for May 4th. How is everyone doing today? Interesting game in the association. I'm not going to lie. My old ass only saw one game last night because I fell asleep on my couch. So our special guest, Bryce from the INET Sports Pod, he'll have to break down that game from last night. But I did watch the Cleveland Cavaliers against the Orlando Magic. Interesting game. Props to you. You hit the Magic team total over last night. Great call from you. Tell us, what did you think of that game?
Yeah, man. Cleveland. I thought Cleveland when they came out that third quarter and they jumped on the Magic immediately, and Magic were struggling to score. Really, the whole game. I don't know what's going on with Mobley. I don't know what's going on with Truce, but Darius Garland and Mitchell were the only ones scoring. I think they had like 59 points, which was like the most ever by backcourt in NBA history, in NBA playoff history. And then the fourth quarter comes and Garland completely disappears, and Donovan Mitchell literally scored. I think it was all 18 fourth quarter points, and I think he scored the last like 22 or so going back into the third quarter. So he needed some help. They wasted a 50-point game from him. Magic forced Game 7 back in Cleveland. I really think all the pressure is on Cleveland right now because last time they were in Cleveland, Magic played them tough. Game came down to the final seconds as well. I think they've finally figured something out. Something's working, and the only problem for them is going to be, can they shoot the ball well enough to get the win? Because like you said yesterday, you called it. Banchero wasn't going to repeat what he did in Game 5. He wasn't necessarily on. Franz Wagner did carry the load heavy to start the game off. But yeah, they just played great defense, and they just had to hit enough shots, and Cleveland just completely fell off. I don't know what happened for them.
My three takeaways from the game, Bickerstaff is a worse coach than I thought. Like, some of these things he's trying to do, I literally have no clue. I'm from the mindset there's two people on the Magic that I don't want to beat us: Wagner and Banchero. Everyone else, look, if Suggs is hitting jump shots, Cole Anthony is hitting jump shots, so be it. But I don't want their guys to beat us. And I just don't understand why he wasn't constantly just blitzing them to force the other guys to make some shots. That's number one. Number two, Garland had one of the worst 90 seconds in NBA playoff history. He got the rebound, had the 10-second count where it turned the ball over. And then the very next play, he didn't box out. It was either Suggs or Anthony. I think it was Suggs on the weak side who had the easy rebound putback. I mean, that was just an awful 90 seconds from Garland, who I like. I'm a huge Darius Garland guy, but just a rough 90 seconds from him. And what is going on with Mitchell? He had that awkward jump shot where he landed on his right leg, kept his left foot extended up because he didn't want to lean on it, and he was visibly hurt. If Mitchell can't go, the Cavs are done. I don't see a world where the Cavs can win this game without Mitchell on Sunday. Do you?
Oh no, he's literally 80% of their offense at this point in the series. They had a great game from Darius Garland besides the 90 seconds, like you mentioned, and that's also, I think, that kind of touches on your Bickerstaff point too, because it was Cole Anthony who went and got the putback, but the Cavs defense wasn't on one string together because Mitchell was actually guarding Anthony. He slides over to help when the ball swings. Then when the shot goes up, Garland doesn't drop down, but it's like, that's just team defense. Like, that's coaching. You're supposed to be all connected. And I don't know what they got going on, but if Mitchell is out, it's no chance in hell. I don't think that the Cavaliers win that game.
This just popped in my head. Spur of the moment. All these rumors about Philly wanting to add a quote unquote another star. Obviously, if you're Cleveland, Mitchell coming up to the end of his contract, he's probably going to want out. You've shown you can't win with this unit. Even with tanking to get the Magic, you lose. Could we see a world where Mitchell somehow ends up on Philadelphia and it's Maxey, Mitchell, and Embiid as the quote-unquote big three for the city of brotherly love?
I've never thought about that, because I mean, of course, it's all rumors, but the whole talk has always been Mitchell wants to be in New York.
Yeah.
But with Philly, I could see that. But if they're going to do that, they have to go all in on defensive wings to fill out the rest of their roster. Because
Oh yeah,
you're
jeez.
not going to be getting defense from Mitchell and Maxey backcourt. They will get a lot of buckets, so they'll outscore opponents most nights, I'm sure. But you're definitely going to have to stock up on better 3-and-D guys, not a Tobias Harris and people like that. But that would be an interesting move because I mean I don't want to jump the gun like how we said Bucks get Dame, that automatically makes them top in the East. But I feel like that would put them right there in 2 and 3 in the East in contention. Celtics, and now what we see with the Knicks with
Yeah,
Brunson.
with the Knicks.
Yeah, so I think that would put them in that mix immediately right off the bat.
Now, and one thing you said, like, we don't know what's going to happen. I did not see the Drew Holiday trade happening back in the day for the Bucks. I did not see the Lillard trade happening this offseason for the Bucks. One of the big rumors from New York is they're willing to go all in to bring in Booker to pair with Brunson. Thoughts?
Oh man, see, I don't want to be living in the moment too much because I know the series just happened, so I still have some ill feelings towards Booker. I just don't know. You go and salvage your future for a guy who, let's face it, has had one good playoff run in his NBA career. And the other years he was on a bottom of the barrel team in Phoenix. They go get Chris Paul, which, say what you want about Chris Paul. I know there's a lot of people out there who say he's one of the biggest chokers in NBA history, but he obviously can lead a team and build a team up. You've seen what he did for Booker. You've seen what he did for SGA, because SGA definitely isn't the player he is today without that 1 year that CP3 was sent to Oklahoma City. But I just wouldn't wager the Knicks have a solid base. I wouldn't wager my future on Devin Booker, who, like I said last episode, he's either really great in the playoffs or he's really bad. It's like no in between. And I don't think that's gonna move the needle for them. I think they more so need a big man or a 4-man other than Julius Randle to kind of help the load with Brunson. But I'm not too much of a fan of Booker to New York rumors, and I don't see that necessarily playing out like people think it would.
So here's another one. I just got an alert from the good old Sleeper app. There are increasingly loud whispers that Jimmy Butler may have played his last game in Miami. Now, I know everyone's saying, they're going to look to the Philadelphia. Maybe he goes back to Philly. A lot of people don't know, but when he was at Philly, he was such a distraction to everything going on there. They sent him away to do rehab. They're like, dude, just go away, do your rehab, come back when you get better. So I'm not thinking Philly. What I'm thinking, does he become the second piece to go along with Brunson in New York because of his relationship with Tibbs?
Now that's something that could work, because then you got Butler, you still got Anunoby, you got the whole Villanova team over there. That would probably be the most frustrating roster to play against in playoffs, because you're gonna have Butler, all his antics. Anunoby's a lockdown. Brunson, even though he's a guard, I call him a bruiser. He's gonna get to his spots in the paint, and you got Josh Hart flying all over the place for offensive rebounds. That would honestly be the most frustrating roster. And Tibbs would probably play all 5 of them all 48 minutes, no subs, just straight running up and down the court.
Just boom, that's it. Just go at it, guys. Just tell everyone else to sit down. Interesting offseason, obviously, in the NBA, but we did have one last game last night. You're gonna have to take the point here, because I think I felt the last score I remember was 10-5. That's literally the last score I remember before I passed out. Why don't you tell everyone what your takeaway was last night from the Mavs and Clippers game?
So it kind of played out the script I gave out yesterday. I told y'all Clippers back against the wall. They probably come out better. They actually Mavericks were up double digits at 2 separate times within the first half. At first, I think they were up 20-10, like 6 minutes into the first. Clippers go on a 12-0 run, take the lead back 22-20. Then the Mavs went up 40-28 after that. And at this point, I actually went to go grab some food, and I'm keeping up with the game on my phone as I'm going to get the food. And then I get back home, and now I believe it's like 44-44. So the Clippers make another run. They end up tying it 52 all at half. But the interesting thing where I was telling you guys, like, if depending on how the game goes, you might have a really good bet on Mavericks second half, which the spread ended up being -6. They cleared it easily. But at the end of the first half, Luka had 15 points, I believe, but he was 0 for 7 from 3. Kyrie had 2 points and he was 1 for 7 from the field. Now, obviously, that's not a predicament you want to be in, but at the same time, they're tied. So, with Luka and Kyrie literally playing their worst basketball, I think PJ Washington was probably the best player on the court for the Mavericks at that point in time. You got to feel pretty good heading to the second half because Luka's not gonna continue that, and Kyrie's gonna eventually get into it. And of course, they come out the second half absolutely guns ablazing. Kyrie ends up going off, finishes with 30. So a lot of these games I've noticed this series, Kyrie is in it the first half with less than 5 points or so, and then second half he just kind of hits a switch. And then an interesting fact they brought up on the broadcast that I didn't even know. Did you know Kyrie is now 13-0 in elimination games in the NBA playoffs in his history?
I did not know that.
Yeah, he's so if you ever get the Mavericks in a chance to finish the series and it got Kyrie right now, go ahead and throw the house on that. But yeah, Mavericks just jumped on them second half, and James Harden, Paul George, all the normal sayings like playoff P, James Harden choking in the playoffs, they were shooting tour dates, all that came to fruition, and Dallas just completely dominated. The momentum got behind them, crowd was into it. Kyrie couldn't miss, and all the role players were doing exactly what they needed to do. Gafford had, besides in the first quarter, Gafford had 2 really stupid fouls that got him put on the bench for that quarter. Besides that, Gafford had some really solid minutes versus Zubac. Lively was all over the place, getting rebounds, getting tips, and stuff like that. And Dallas takes it in 6, like I called a couple weeks ago. And now they're on to OKC. They don't really get a rest, but Luka did look good. Like his knee didn't look like it was bothering him too much. He looked much more fluid yesterday. Like I said, Kyrie, once he's in his groove, it's kind of like I think we said it when you're on the pod with us. He might be the most skilled person with the basketball ever when you consider he's probably like 6'2", maybe, but he can finish around the rim on anybody. He can shoot the jumper. He's got one of the best handles in NBA history. So I'm looking at the count. Is it luck of the series?
It's about Nas Reed over. He is solid during the Suns, but the Nas 2 World game is still to come, and it's going to come. I was actually looking at playing some Nas Reed stuff just because, but I couldn't do it. He wasn't here for last series. I think he's going to be a big thing. I am definitely going to look because I think that's one thing that we're going to see is we're going to see a lot of Nas Reed, and they're going to run different bigs at Joker. Before we get into the game, the one question I want to ask you is we all have this huge perception that Ty Lue's is a good coach. Now, as you pointed out yesterday, the Mavs have dominated the third quarter, and third quarter is all about adjustments. Are we overvaluing Ty Lue as a coach because of the historic 3-1 comeback when he coached the Cavs against the Warriors a couple years back?
I definitely think we are a little bit. Like, I still like Ty Lue as a coach. I would argue he's still top 5 within the NBA coaching trees today. But I think he does get a lot, like, his career has kind of been living off of that because with the Clippers, his tenure, I know there's been, of course, obviously all the injuries, Kawhi, PG, Harden, whatever you want to call it. But at the end of the day, they just have not gotten the job done, and they've been nowhere close to getting the job done. Besides the 1 year they made the conference finals in 21 versus the Suns, but Kawhi goes out. I don't know, because we heard the rumors yesterday that the Lakers, he's on their list, and then it comes out right after that the Clippers are looking to extend him. So I really feel like, and Ballmer's definitely got the money to do it. He's one of the richest owners in the league. They might have to enter not a rebuild, but a semi quasi restructure. Like these pieces all together do not work. Like we've seen it. It's been 5 years now, basically. They got the Kawhi trade in the 2019 season, start that one, and it has not come to fruition at all. So like you have to try something new, and that might also need to be coached. Might need to be, hey, can we trade Kawhi PG for anything? Like, can we get younger? Can we get better? Because at the end of the day, every season it's gonna be either Kawhi is injured or Paul George is injured. When it gets to the
Yeah.
playoffs, somebody's gonna have a playoff dud. Like they're not gonna play like themselves how they did in the regular season, and it's like clockwork. And my favorite thing that I say in my podcast is the definition of insanity. You're gonna do the same thing over and over, expecting different results, and it's just not gonna work. You've had the same results for 5 years. Change something up. You're going into a new arena. Don't bring these same vibes into that new arena. Start fresh somehow, some way.
I was talking to one of my friends this morning, and the comment he made that was really interesting. Mavericks are the better team. Clippers have the better players. And that kind of was like, you know what? That kind of sums it up in the nutshell. And you mentioned like a quote unquote soft rebuild. We talked about it yesterday. George and Harden are pick and roll players. Leonard's an ISO player. So those really don't work hand in hand together. You need kind of everyone that can Harden and George create on their own? Yeah, of course they can. But Kawhi won't do the pick and roll for whatever reason it is. You kind of need someone that can do the pick and roll. Kawhi is obviously getting up there in age and isn't quite what he used to be. Do you think they could move Kawhi?
I was really thinking about that once they lost yesterday, and I was just like, I don't know who would take Kawhi at this point in his career. Because, like I said, it's a given. Like, I don't want to sound like, terrible about it, because it's not necessarily his fault, but it's a given he's gonna get injured throughout the year at some point.
Yeah.
This was one of his healthier years for sure, but when it comes down to it, playoff time, I said it, which was one of the main reasons I picked the Mavs, even though I thought the Mavs would beat him with Kawhi. I was saying like he was questionable to start the series because he had knee inflammation. I literally said on the pod, they're gonna rest him one game, then they're gonna bring him back, and then he's gonna be out the rest of the series because the knee is gonna flame right back up, and then
Yeah.
he's gonna be out. Like it just happens every year. And so I'm like, who wants to really take a risk on doing that? I don't know, but
And
it's an
another thing
interesting
with
point to make.
the other thing with Kawhi is if I'm Kawhi right now, I got my 3 ships. Okay. I got my 2 in San Antonio. I got 1 with the Raptors. He doesn't seem like he's concerned with wanting to be considered one of the all-time greats. He lives in San Diego. He takes a chopper up game days into practice. I wouldn't want to leave that at all. If I'm Kawhi, this is the perfect scenario because probably no other team's going to let me do that. But if I'm the Clippers, I'm seriously going to consider it. And if the package comes up, I would definitely look to make that move. Let's jump into the game right now. We got 1 game today. Obviously, my Bucks couldn't get it done, so no game 7 for Milwaukee today. So we only have the Nuggets hosting the Timberwolves. And you know what? I don't know what your favorite beer is, my friend. My favorite beer is Miller Lite. So we'll have a beer bet on our first bet because we're going head to head. I like the Nuggets. You like the Timberwolves. Why don't you lead off why you like the Timberwolves, my friend?
Yeah, man. So, like I said, I had to eat crow because I like Anthony Edwards. I thought the Timberwolves had a good team. Obviously, they had the best defensive team in the league this year. They have Rudy Gobert, who's probably going to win his 4th Defensive Player of the Year, even though I kind of disagree with that. But hey, it is what it is. I thought the Suns would kind of beat up on them, show them, like they're still a young team. I thought they were 1 year too early. I thought next year was really going to be the year for them where you see this playoff jump. But I watched every second of that series, all 4 games, and that team is complete from head to toe. I've always liked Mike Conley as a point guard back to his Memphis Grizzlies days, even back in Ohio State when he helped lead them to the championship with Odin. He's left-handed. I'm left-handed too, so that's another reason. But he's just a solid point guard that's gonna help lead the team, keep everything calm down in the heat of the moment. Anthony Edwards, budding star in the making. They have great 3-and-D pieces in Jaden McDaniels, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Karl Anthony Towns. I think this last week of rest has done really good for him and his knee after getting back into playing shape a little bit in that series, and now you get to rest, kind of do some more regenerative rehab for that. And then, like you said, Naz Reid off the bench, 6th man of the year. I've been arguing that Naz Reid, honestly, if the Timberwolves don't make it this year, and it becomes obvious, like, okay, we might have to trade Cat. I would say Naz Reid might be more of a fit to go alongside Anthony Edwards because it lets Anthony Edwards be the true number 1 option. and Nas Reed kind of, I think, pairs better with his game. But this team is just loaded. Their depth is crazy. They all seem to be playing for each other right now. The only interesting thing is I don't know, which maybe it's already come out and I haven't seen it yet. Is Chris Finch going to be on the sidelines?
We
Because
don't know. It hasn't come out yet. Because he
that
took
so
a
that's
nasty spill.
yeah, so that's going to be interesting because obviously, like the players still got to go out and play the game, but not having your head coach on the sidelines, that might be a problem. But I mean, hey, this is I think this team is really complete, and I think they might really make a run for the final. Like it's open for them this year. I didn't think it was, but it is more than open. If they can get through the Nuggets, I think OKC and Dallas are no match for them because of the size disparity. And then you get into the Eastern Conference. If it's the Knicks, that's really, I think they'll be able to shut them down. And if it's the Celtics, the whole Porzingis thing now, I think that kind of throws it into loop. So I think it's wide open for the Timberwolves, and I think they know that. I think Anthony Edwards is just one of those guys where it's like, hey, like I know I'm young, I know we just watched this man. I don't think how much people really just put thought in this. It's well known fact that Anthony Edwards' favorite player growing up was Kevin Durant. We just watched him kill him for 4 games straight with no mercy whatsoever and talk shit after doing it too. Like,
Yeah.
and back it up. Like, it's not like he's talking stuff while he's up. He's talking it while he's down, while he's up, while it's tied. And when it comes into the clutch, he's been going crazy in the fourth quarter. So the Timberwolves literally made me a fan. And even though I'm still not a fan of Rudy Gobert, I gained a lot more respect for him too watching that series. I still think the Nuggets are the best team until proven otherwise. But looking at how they played in that first round versus the Lakers, you're not playing good basketball when you're down for 150 plus minutes of the series. All props to them because they made the comebacks in the fourth and won the games. But they haven't been playing well. They haven't been shooting the ball well. And Jamal Murray, I don't know, I don't know what the deal with his calf injury is. And also, I think Jaden McDaniels is going to be a pretty solid defender on Michael Porter Jr. So we're not going to get Michael Porter Jr. averaging 24 shooting on 90-50 splits across the board. I don't think we're going to see that this series, and I think it's going to be much tougher for Denver.
What's the parlay odds on Ant going for a ring, Finals MVP, gold medal in the summer of 2022?
I wish I could bet that.
I'm playing around with it, but unfortunately, the Finals MVP and the finals are correlated. It can't let you do it, but I did put it in the parlay calculator. If you do find a book that will let you do it, if you put 100 on it, you're going to get it back about 14 grand.
Oh my goodness.
So let me make sure. Yeah. So can't really complain about that. That is a good thought. So you said some interesting thing. The first thing you said that was interesting was Porter. This is going to be an interesting series because you can't leave Porter open, and you need a tall defender, which the Nuggets have. The Wolves have, just because of his release point with his jump shot. We don't know what's going on with Finch, and that's kind of part of the reason why I kind of like the Nuggets here, is because your coach isn't on the sidelines. How much has he been at practice? And he was magnificent in his adjustments pre-flop before the Suns game when it started. He ran circles around Frank Vogel with what he did. So not having that piece on the sidelines in him, I'm a little worried about. Number 2, Malone isn't an idiot. I think he sees, hey, you know what? If Conley hits jump shots, I'm fine. If Gobert is doing his thing, I'm fine. But I'm not going to let Edwards go for 30 per game in the series. I'm going to blitz him. I'm going to double him. I'm going to throw different defenders on him. I think that's what he's going to do. I think he's going to force other people to beat him. So I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know if, let's say the game starts out and Finch isn't on the sidelines. Are the assistants going to be able to make that counter to adjust to get, play Ant off the ball, use them in screens to open up? Are the coaches going to be able to make those adjustments that aren't there? and what were the practices leading into it. I feel the Wolves are due for some. Everyone except for my boy, who I'll get to in a little bit, Alexander Walker, is kind of due for some negative shooting regression. I don't know if Gobert is going to be able to handle Joker, but the main thing I looked at, and I was right there, I was looking at the Wolves too, but the main thing I looked at was this. Game 1, when it's a 1 or 2 seed, line is less than 5, and they've had at least 3 games rest, and game 1 is 59% against the spread. So that was the one thing that really, really stood out to me. Game 3, going Wolves, pregame in the Finchy Pop is going to be huge, along with decades of built up waiting for tonight. Going to be the Wolves locker room. Win this one for Finchy. Okay. Maybe they do. Maybe they do rally it around for Finch. I don't know. Like, this is a situation. I can't remember the situation at all. Can you? Like, a coach getting her on the sidelines.
Yeah,
I mean, they have major knee injury. I don't remember the situation. So
I don't think I've ever seen that. Like, I've seen coaches get ran into and be like a little shaken up, but actual injured torn patella tendon, like I don't think I've ever seen that ever.
the only thing I remember is when Georgia State played Baylor in the NCAA tournament, and Coach Hunter was on the sidelines, and he was on a little he had one of those things where the leg was propped up because he had a broken ankle, where he could kind of like walk around it. That's the only thing I remember. So it's going to be, I don't know. I like the Nuggets here. I'm looking at that trend. Nuggets good during the playoffs. Maybe I'm going to be wrong here, but it's just so hard not to trust this team. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Let me ask you something, because you said you don't know about Gobert on Jokic. So I was going back and kind of looking at some of their matchups and reading a little bit on the analysis of their matchup. I think the Timberwolves might actually put Cat on Jokic so they can let Gobert kind of roam around the rim, because Gordon's going to be playing that kind of paint slasher where they get the ball to the middle of Jokic. Next thing you know, Gordon dives to the bucket. It's a lob right there, and it works because a lot of people's 4-man can't stop that, and you've seen it kill the Lakers, especially Game 3 when Gordon had 29 and 15. But if you have Gobert there, that kind of changed things. And I was of the mindset, we were talking on the podcast the other day, I was like, it kind of, because we know you cannot leave MPJ open at all whatsoever. Don't give him any open looks. If you have Jaden McDaniels kind of, just shadowing him, and you let Cat kind of play Jokic straight up, and Jokic is going to get his. I don't think you can shut down Jokic, but you just have to live with that. And I think Mike Conley can play decent enough defense on Jamal Murray. I kind of feel like, from the Timberwolves perspective, they're kind of like, hey, if we can try to make Jokic beat us completely, we'll live with the results, because that's going to take a lot out of him if he's got to do that all game, and we deny the help from MPJ and people like Murray. And then on the flip side, I think of course, go double blitz Edwards, but I don't think, in comparison to the Suns, I don't think the Nuggets really have a lockdown defender either. And if you do that, you're going to be leaving Cat open or Naz Reid open, who are very good at shooting. So, I mean, if they can obviously be off, but I think Ant is really about to wake the league up and put them on notice, where it's like, I don't think you can necessarily stop him. He's just one of those guys. He literally had, because I thought, I was of the mindset coming into the Phoenix series, like, yeah, Ant is really good, but I don't know if he can shoot that well, like when it comes down to it, and if he can handle the ball when the pressure gets up. And he did it, and he's distributing the ball. And I've even watched a few of his mic'd up clips. He's out there just being a great leader too, even though he's like 22 years old. You would think he's like 27, 28, the way he's been playing and what you hear him saying and things like that. And I just don't know. I wouldn't be mad if the Nuggets win this series, because I have futures on the Nuggets in the finals.
Mm-hmm.
But I just feel like the Timberwolves, I thought they were a year too early, year out. I think I might have been wrong. I was a year too late. Like, this team has it all, and they're young and hungry. Like you said, I really think the only X factor now is just, what is the deal with Chris Finch?
I am upset with myself because when you and I talked at the beginning of the season, I was all in on the Thunder. But when looking back, I have always said that the Timberwolves should build around Ant, and I should have saw this coming. So I'm a little bit disappointed with myself. You mentioned Gobert guarding the rim, and that kind of goes into my next play that I'll start off with. I played Joker over 1.5 threes at plus 145. And when he goes against someone, against a team that is good at protecting the rim, he starts out, he did this against the Lakers, just shooting threes. And he did it against the Timberwolves this season, makes a couple, gets the defense to go out, and then he looks to attack the rim and go in, drive and distribute and everything. Against the Lakers, he averaged 3.6 3-point attempts per game. Versus Minnesota this year, he averaged 3.75 3-point attempts this year. For the season, it was down at 2.8. So it's definitely like an uptick. I think we're going to see him do this, and I'm seeing a plus 145. To me, it just kind of makes sense that that's the best way to go. What's the third part of the Ant parlay? Should have known. Hard to find something on votes like MVP. Got to be good. Third ring and gold medal. Well, I mean, that's the thing. Do you play? Because you're looking at right now, the Timberwolves are 10-1 on DraftKings to win it, and he's 10-1 to win MVP in the finals, and the Wolves are plus 950 to win it all. Do you see a world where the Wolves can win and Ant not be the MVP, or are those just things just going to kind of be correlated?
I think they're just going to be correlated. The only way it would come down to it, and he's not, is if Karl Anthony Towns has a couple 40-point games because he's just shooting the leather off the ball. But this team, I think, like I said, Ant has now played 15 playoff games in his NBA career. 8 of them, he has 30 points. If this team is going to make it that far and win it all, it's going to be on the back of Ant, and he's going to be doing everything. He's going to also have the highlight plays too, like the dunk to clinch the game versus Phoenix. Like he dunked on Bill and Katie at the same time. He's going to have those plays in every series. He's going to have some superstar blocks. Like I really don't see a world where Minnesota wins the finals and he doesn't win finals MVP. And then at that point, it's kind of like the crowning moment. I think he will then inevitably be the face of the league for, the future generation to come. And then, of course, as social media loves to do, they're really going to start painting the picture like, hey, is this Michael Jordan 2.0? Is that what we're about to witness? Even though he's just now getting started, and I don't want to throw that pressure on him. But yeah, it's definitely it's going to be an interesting narrative if Minnesota can somehow make this run. And what we're saying we think he will do, if that all happens, it's going to be a fun NBA offseason to talk basketball.
I mean, maybe if you can find MVP for next year. If you find a book that has MVP for next year, maybe that could be the third leg. Gold medal, MVP conference, MVP finals, and then MVP next year. Maybe that would be a third leg.
I guess
right now, I don't see it.
Can you bet conference finals MVP with the NBA finals? Because I forgot that is now an award too. So you can't do that.
I just try to do it and you can't do it. So so I have one more bet. You have a couple more. What is your next bet, my friend?
So my next bet is who we're just talking about. Ant over 27.5 points, game 1. Think he's gonna have to come out and kind of be the X factor, because Jokic is gonna cause so much defensive attention, whether that be for Gobert or Cat. I think that could kind of wear them down. Cat did have a problem last series where, funny enough, in the post game press conference, Ant was like, I was just telling Cat, stop effing fouling, we'll be okay. So there's a possibility they could get into a little bit of foul trouble. But I think game 1, there's gonna be kind of okay, Ant kind of set the tempo, put your mark down early, kind of get us going. I think he goes for 30. And then if he goes for 30, I think that means the Timberwolves are in the game. That's why I have them to plus 4.5. So yeah, over 27.5. I think this is the lowest point total he's going to have all series, because once he gets 30, it's going to be around 29.5, hovering there for the rest of the series.
And I mean, he's going to get his. Like back to what I said earlier, he's probably going to score 30 this game. What the Nuggets don't want to happen is him score 35 to 45.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he's going to get his. He's going to be able to go off. The Nuggets have to make sure they limit what he does and not have that 35-40 game. But hitting this prop over, I can definitely see it. And one of them I'll probably look to add a little bit later. Seeing how effective the Wolves can limit his non-Murray assist, he's getting those. If they are limiting him getting the others involved, it's the Wolves. Okay. All right. My next bet, and this is kind of how I see this series playing out, and it's something I hopped on during the last series. Alexander Walker is the guy that does nothing in the regular season, and come playoff time, because everything he can do, he's going to be playing 30 minutes. I think because of the defense he can do on Murray, get in his face, make him uncomfortable, he's going to be playing a lot more like we saw in the first round series against the Suns. Regular season, he only played 23.4 minutes. First round, 31.1. His PRA for the playoffs is 19 per game. The only game he did not in the playoffs go over this 12.5 was in game 4 when he had 12 and shot 1 of 7 and 2 of 9. 1 of 7 from 3, 2 of 9 from the floor. So he's due for some positive shot regression. So I played Walker over the 12.5 points, rebounds, and assists. I also got him to score at least 10 points at plus 180. He's going to be playing so much minutes, and he's not afraid. Ever since the Vatek days, one thing Alexander Walker isn't afraid to is taking jump shots. So he's going to get his jump shots. He's due for some positive shooting regression. So I played the 2 Walker totals. You can get him at plus money too if you shop around. So
I really like that one because, man, he hit some daggers in that Phoenix series where you can't guard everybody. He's over there in the corner. They chose to leave him open, and I felt like he didn't miss that series from the corner. But yeah, no, that's a really good play. So, and it's something about that Alexander family, obviously, because that's SGA's cousin, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they can hoop. I don't know what
they
it
just
is.
got nails. They got what is it? Ice in the veins, man. They're just some ballers. And this is one of the guys I think I don't know his contract situation. This could be a guy we see morph himself into some money with how he's been playing and what he can do and how the league is right now, because he can defend, he can bring the ball up, and he can shoot the 3. Appreciate you for tuning in. Got to run with it. Interactions. We'll watch the rest when it's posted later. Hearing good stuff. Go Wolves. Thank you for tuning in. We appreciate everyone who's watching on all the stream, on all the platforms. Bryce, do you have any more plays, or is that it for you, my friend?
Yes, I have one more. So because, like we were saying, like kind of Charlie's point, how can you limit Joker's assists that aren't to Murray? I think they're gonna tell Jaden McDaniels, hey, don't worry about nothing else. Just guard MPJ. Don't let him breathe. And because of that, I'm gonna stay away from his under on points because it's around 17.5. There's a chance he's a great player, so he could always catch fire. But I'm gonna go under on his PRA under 26.5 because he doesn't really get assists. We know the memes and jokes about him not ever passing the ball. He just gets his shots up. But I feel like if McDaniels can hold him to like a 15 or 17 and probably 5-6 rebounds, I don't think MPJ is getting 4 assists today. So I really like the under here, and I like McDaniel's defense. Like you said, he's long, he's active, and he's one of the few people that can probably contest a lot of MPJ's jumpers with the lift he gets on him. And MPJ is like 6'10" himself. So Anthony Edwards tried to tell us a while back, they got Kevin Durant, we got Jaden McDaniels. Everybody kind of took it as a joking matter, but he wasn't lying. Jaden McDaniels definitely has been proving himself. And an interesting point too, because this is a rematch of last year's first round playoff series. Remember, Jaden McDaniels actually got hurt because he punched the wall after game 1 because he was upset and was out for the rest of the series with a broken hand. I think now with him being back, could be different.
And also, guess who wasn't available? No Naz Reid last year either. Naz Reid did not play. So
yeah.
That's a good thing that Charlie pointed out as well. Let's go ahead. Let's bring up parlay play. I already have mine already in here. My parlay play for the day is I did Joker over the 1.5 threes made and Alexander Walker over 9.5 points. Look, this is 5x. $30 will win you 150. Can't complain. Bryce, what are you working with, my friend?
Okay, so I'm gonna throw the two props I had: Anthony Edwards over 27.5 and Porter Jr. under 26.5 PRA. Also want to add that Nikhil Alexander Walker, I'm going to tell you on that one over 9.5 because I think he's going to play a pivotal role. And then I'm also going to throw Carl Anthony Towns to make 2 threes.
So what was your 24 or 25.5 for 25.5?
For Porter Jr.?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, 25.5.
25.5. Boom. And then we got Towns 3.5. 2.5 threes, right?
Or over 1.5 threes.
Over 1.5 threes. And then Walker 9.5. Boom. Ooh, cool. 7.02, $30 on that gets you a little over $200 back. You cannot complain about that. Bryce, I'd like to thank you for coming on and talking some NBA. Why don't you tell everyone where they can find you on social media, my friend?
Appreciate you for having me again. You can find my podcast at INISPOD. Find it on all socials: Twitter, YouTube, Instagram. Just add an underscore at the end. Definitely love coming on, chopping up basketball with you. You've been on the pod obviously numerous times as well for us. And it's actually about to get really good because last night I totally forgot that in the midst of these NBA playoffs, the WNBA preseason started. So we're definitely big fans of the WNBA and college women's basketball, especially after the year they just had. So we'll definitely be diving into that. I did a reaction video that is now out on YouTube of Caitlin Clark's debut. She actually had, I think, 21 points, 16 in the first half. Looked basically like what she was doing at Iowa. Now, the WNBA does got to get a little bit better about how they, showcase some of these games because it was hard to find some of these highlights. And I couldn't watch the game, so I might have to just throw the $35 to get that league pass for them so I could watch because she only had 5 in the second half. But yeah, definitely stay tuned if y'all have been enjoying any of the women's basketball because we will be reacting to a lot of those games, whether that be the Aces. You got Angel Reese down there in Chicago now. So a lot of talent coming into the WNBA, NBA, and then pretty soon here, I want to try to get it out over this next month. Got to dive back into the NFL a lot. So free agency, the draft now is obviously done. See, where we go division by division breakdown on what we think is going to happen for this next upcoming year. So a lot in store for the I Need a Sports Pod. But like I said, you follow us at INISPOD. Love y'all come over and show us some support if you like what you've seen here with me and Eric.
That's a great podcast. I listen to it when I'm working out on the treadmill and everything. One quick thing about the WNBA. This is a business at the end of the day. The WNBA is doing. Caitlin Clark, the most popular girl coming out to play. The next popular one, I'd probably say, is Angel Reese.
Yeah.
And they also drafted the
Camila Cardoso.
Yeah. In what world is the Chicago Sky game not on the WNBA League Pass? Wasn't even broadcast. You want to talk about fumbling? That is a huge fumble.
Literally.
Now, look, I live in Chicago. I'm, Caleb Williams this. They should be pumping out Angel Reese like no other. This is like, it's going up right now, the popularity of the women's game, and rightfully so. And you have someone like Angel Reese, and just the not the limitations, just the half-assing of the promotion.
Yeah, literally.
Is just utterly embarrassing.
It's just terrible.
You look what the Fever's doing. Now, granted, the Bulls aren't in the playoffs, but we have 2 Major League Baseball teams here. Why isn't Angel Reese or Cardoza throwing out a first pitch for one of these games? Why is none of this stuff happening at all? Caitlin Clark's, she's there for the Pacers game. She's down on the court. She's like doing stuff. Why aren't the Sky doing any of this with Cardoza and Angel Reese? You have probably Cardoza's probably top maybe 4 after the girl from Stanford, maybe the 4th most popular one in the draft. So you have 2 of the top 4 popular girls coming out from the draft, and you're literally doing nothing to promote them. I'm sorry, that's my rant. I'm a business major. It was just right there. Just came out.
No, it's fully warranted. I was completely blown away because I'm like, why would you not put both of them on your WNBA League Pass for one? But two, I was like, since it's the first one, just to get people interested, why not just make it free to view on WNBA League Pass, and then that will make more people inclined to, hey, let's go, let's go buy this and watch, because only $35. Like, I'm sure nobody would have a problem spending 35 to watch all of these games, but you're not even promoting it. They have some pretty good merchandise out that they're not promoting. I'm just like, people, and I get Caitlin Clark, obviously she's number one, hands down, most popular, but people are like, well, Angel Reese just simply isn't as popular as Caitlin. I'm like, her jersey literally sold out too. Like, she has a great following. You could get all of the LSU fan base just for starters with her. If you pump Cardoso, you're gonna get all the South Carolina's fan base. Like, it's literally that simple. I'm like, do we want the game to grow or not? Because literally, you couldn't have asked for a better incoming draft class from what these girls did in college. And this is how we're starting it off. They just completely dropped the ball. And I'm like, I hope I literally said it on my reaction video. I was like, I hope by the time the actual season starts, they get some of these things together, so it's like a more thorough product. Because I'm like, you literally have the golden ticket right now through these girls. It's not just Caitlin, through all of them. Don't fumble this.
Sports is a business, and you look like different. MLB made changes to make the game faster, and it's helping. NBA has made changes in season tournament. NFL makes changes. All these leagues adapt and make changes. You don't need to make any changes, WNBA. You just need to promote the players in your league. Wow. All right. So that's a good rant, unexpected rant from Bryce and I. Make sure to give Bryce a follow at the I Need It Sports Pod. Subscribe to his YouTube channel. Everything. Him and his crew, great guys, know their stuff. And I always like, when I'm watching and listening, there's always these tangent arguments that you guys get in, and that's the stuff. Tuning in for that alone is well worth it. So make sure to check that out. And I'm sure we'll talk soon, my friend. Best of luck in all your bets, and best of luck to everyone watching and in all their bets as well.